Oh, well, look at that. We're live, bro. It just said it on the screen. Not even playing. 10 seconds.
Everybody, welcome into the Beehive. Today we're gonna do a unboxing and hang out and chat. So welcome in, Kevin Hawthorne. Good to see you.
What up, Kevin?
We got Space Miner with us here tonight, and we are getting ready for the upcoming Osmium Symposium here in Denver. Chew, good to see you. Welcome in. Okay, so I'm going to start unboxing this new turntable I got. And Space Miner's going to keep you company.
I suppose so.
Yeah, I just getting ready for the symposium that's coming up here in Denver.
Liberty, welcome in, bro. Good to see you. How's the channel pumping out for you, man?
And as usual, we got a box in a box.
Screen.
This might be better.
Steaks, that sounds great. Yeah, I put out steaks earlier. I'm waiting to reap the rewards of that patient seed. Yeah.
Hey, Liberty Bleeds, welcome in. Good to see you.
So, y'all, we are halfway through 25. Oh, my word. I remember the beginning of the year making a lot of predictions. And for myself, you know, some of them I was rewarded on, some of them I wasn't. I expected a little bit more from Platinum, but it looks like it's finally off and running. Gold went crazy. I don't think we've seen the end of that. Silver just spiked on up for us. So that's either terrifying or exciting, you know, how much you're holding. So it's been a wild year, and it's been moving pretty fast, you know. It shows how quickly things can change for us. You know, it seems like just the other day, you know, picking up $65, $75 grams of gold. Now, you know, people and you know, grams were everywhere. You could get grams all day. Now you see gram stacks running out. You see half grams hitting the shelf. And I'm just like, wow, times are moving. And if those shelves don't tell you where we're going, I don't know what will, you know?
Yeah, how about that silver, eh?
Man. And it was just like overnight. Like, there was a lot of people, like, you know, a lot of fear mongering going on there for a minute. Like, oh, that's it. That's the peak. That's the end. You know, sell out. You know, it's like, well, that, you know, there's nothing wrong with turning in a profit. You never know what's coming tomorrow. You know, that buyback it ain't always so easy.
That's what I think a lot of people don't realize, kind of, that we're about, you know, or I don't know. To me it seems obvious, but if you don't see it like I do, and maybe, you know, we just sound like a bunch of other people that, you know, the boy who cried wolf, right? And
Yep.
But I don't know, from the way I'm looking at it, it's pretty sure that the hegemony of the dollar is waning greatly. So, which means the way the system is set up, it's not going to go the other way. So this kind of almost has to continue, or else have a huge implosion. So either way, this, you want to be in the metals somewhere a little bit, kind of for until this whole thing gets resolved, which will be quite noticeable. You won't have to wonder when that is.
Welcome in, OTG. Welcome in, B. Taylor. Nice to see you guys. It goes to show that this community, although we're not always taken seriously, can't help ourselves sometimes, right? But it goes to show we've been right. How many of us have been out there saying this to our families, saying this to our friends, saying it to the internet. Like, the day is coming, and we're not seeing swings back into $28 silver now, are we? $25 silver. I mean, look at how much that fluctuated in just a very short amount of time. Like, there's been guys, a lot of these long timers, man, the guy's been vested in there for longer than most of us been thinking about it. A lot of these people have been really disappointed in silver for a real long time. But now that silver's starting to crack that code, I think people are waking up, and I think a lot of people are real disappointed that they gave up too soon.
Yeah, well, that's what I hope people don't give up and hold on and see the bigger picture, because that's really the key to the time we're in right now, is seeing the bigger picture and knowing we're just actually at the beginning of this. Like, I understand a lot of people are out selling because they're finally in profit if they bought a long time ago, but it's gonna hurt when you've waited so long to get to this point, and you sell out and watch the gains that you were originally looking for come through, and you'll be out. But I guess, I don't know.
Well, I'll be fair about it and open and honest, so maybe y'all can learn from me. Is not too long ago, whenever silver was sitting at its pretty little peak, before it crashed out for a minute, I took advantage. I was like, oh man, it could be a while. It could be a while. And I was like, I better capture my value while it's right here. It's either that or I'm in for the long haul again. And so I captured a bunch of value. In fact, I liquidated almost everything. And kind of said, screw it, hit the reset on that investment. Well, that pullback came back a little bit quicker than I imagined it would. And now my buyback is a lot steeper. I could have done it, and I could have done it today, right? But this stuff is, I want to remind everybody, at the end of the day, we need to use this. Like, you want to use this. You want to start establishing a network of people that will accept silver, or use silver, and it's good to gain rewards. There's a lot of swings you can play on. If you play the ratios, if you play the buy and sells, it doesn't matter. Like, there's a lot of good opportunities to capture value, and that is ultimately what it's here for. Now, how much percentage of your value do you want to get back? That's a whole nother discussion in itself. But at the end of the day, it's a form of preservation of wealth, and wealth can look different through times. So if you've got a good ratio on land to silver and you're interested in land, well, this might be time to capture, But if you've got the cash or the zeros and ones, and you're the zeros and ones in line, then swing cash, for later. But I'm not going to be shamed by anybody for liquidating. But I did, very honestly, I missed I didn't time it. I didn't time my re-entry well, and now I'm going to bite the bullet for it. Now, granted, I got a good capture out of it, and I got what I wanted out of it, but I still need to re-enter the market for this to work. So Here I am at the bottom of the barrel again, and everybody can say, like, I have no problem saying it. I'm at the bottom of the barrel again, guys. I'm with every other person out there in chat that might be just starting. So you guys can join the journey with me if you want, but
yeah, and I would say, I mean, it's it's good to be in already if you're in, but if you're just getting in, for me personally, and you can't hold me accountable for what I'm gonna say here. You have to figure out what you want to do yourself. But yeah, I don't think that we're going to, that you have to worry about it dropping for very long of a period of time anyway from where we're at. It might drop for a week or two or a month, but it's up and to the right for a fair amount of time, in my personal opinion. And the big moves are just yet to happen. And you watch any of the chartists. I'm not really a charter. Somebody who watches the charts and goes by the charts only. I'm more look at the bigger picture, but they're saying that over 35, which we broke through today, heartily, we're up to like almost 36. And yeah, they're saying after 35, 36 comes 40 and then 50, and like there's not a lot of resistance. 50 will be probably the next possible place, but there's probably not really much there because those peaks before were just such short-lived peaks. So and
we really with the different
if you think about the $50 that it hit in like 1980 and 2000, that there's a lot more inflation in the tubes now, so it should blow right through 50 with no problem really before we're close to the same value as before.
Yeah, I'm looking at Emerald Coast, and hey, welcome in Capital Currency. 40 is the new 30, and ain't that the truth, man? Guys, we're entering the type of market, like, this is the point at which we start seeing the results of like exponential growths. Like, this is that point in every timeline and every timeline chart you've ever seen where it just goes like population charts that they're long, live steady, and then all of a sudden, whammo, they spike to the roof, and you just can't keep up. Oh, geez. But anyways, OTG's distracting me. But man, we're about to see it. The market's moving differently. That's what I was saying a second ago. This isn't Grandpa's market anymore. There's a lot more people in the market than ever before. There's a lot stronger cultural influences, social influences. There's a lot stronger economic influences, and a lot more people playing sharp. And now we've got AI hitting the system, and AI traders everywhere. And, this market's going to get sapped up in like no time. Every time it hits the shelf, it's gone. Every time it hits the shelf, it's gone. And it's only going to get thinner. And so it's never too late to start. Like, get anything now. Just get anything now. Like, you can get your hands on pretty much. Like, just get your reward where you can. Now, it's not like financial advice, classic disclaimer, but, that's how I'm approaching it. It's like, dude, I'll take whatever gain I can get, Am I all alone here?
Sorry, no, I'm just looking at this new turntable I pulled out. Boy, it looks nice. It's a bit different than my other model. I mean, it's the same thing, but it's got a few different looks here. It's got a silver knob, which is different. Very, very nice looking here. Let's see if I can find my.
So what for? Like, you're shopping these. What's piquing your interest? What makes it a good player for you?
Oh, well, techniques. Like, for me, I'm a techniques only guy, and they've been, they've been the model to go to from the get-go, really. Once you got into DJs and clubbing, it's got a really thick rubber gasket down here on the bottom that holds all the components and takes all the reverberation from a heavy beating club, so you can have a lot of loud music and still get a clean feed. And the direct drive motors are really the big key. A lot of the old school, like this. In fact, I have a dual 1019 here, which is an old mechanical turntable, and it has actually, this has a direct drive motor too, but it's a lot different. And but a lot of the older models just had a belt drive. And those are pretty weak for DJing on. But the Techniques have had a direct drive motor that will keep pulling the record round pretty hard, and that torque allows you to work the record a lot more. And then you just have good clean components, the wiring, the mechanics, everything's really well built. So, and then now this newer model, actually, so a few things about those. The set that I've played on for the longest time was the SL-1200 M3D, which was a good model, and still sought after, but they didn't make them for very long. Then they did an M5, and then when they went to the 7, they kind of downgraded the quality. The lining wasn't as thick. You'd get feedback, cheaper components. So it was kind of going to be the end. But then they came out with to match it for those that were complaining, they came out with like a really high-end Pro one. And it's made with really high-grade metal components and gold and titanium and all this different. They really decked it out and went to a new grade motor. It was really powerful, and but it's like $4,500 for that model. And so its baby brother is this one that I got, and it's basically the same motor as the G, the really pro model, but it doesn't have the gold and the extra nice metals. So these two are both the GR, which is the kind of the baby brother, but they're actually kind of a step up from this original model that I had. So plus they play 78 speed, which is something that these older players don't. But anyway, I gotta get this set up. I'm sure I bored everybody out of the chat with that one.
OTG, it's Osmium Space is what you want to find on IG. So you mentioned that before, the playback speeds.
Yeah.
What's that about for those of us not in the spin?
Well, most records play at 33 RPM revolutions per minute, and there's some that play at 45 RPM. Back in the day, like this dual, the reason I got this old mechanical record players, it plays 4 speeds, because they also used to have a slower speed that was 16. 16. But there's like only some old school records that are 16s, and they're mostly like church recordings and stuff like that, or hymns sung or something like that. But so there is a 16 RPM record, but it's an old from the 40s and 50s and stuff. But yeah, so then this original SL-1200 M3D, that the model that I started with, only plays 33 RPM and 45 RPM. And then these newer models I have also play 78 RPM, which there's some old school records that play 78 RPM. So yeah.
Now, is there a sound quality you prefer out of these?
Oh yeah. Well, you can get as good a sound quality out of 33 and 45, really, either way, but I prefer the 45 long play, because the way they press the records out, and that higher speed, it gives you better scratch or backspin or cueing ability, basically, because at that faster spinning RPM, there's more torque or speed going under your record, so it's easier to maneuver the record without catching, kind of.
Yeah, because I imagine the lift is real important on the motion too. Like that lift recovery, like a belt drive could like slip a little bit, as an example. Like an old school belt drive could slip a little bit, and that timing not be in the
For
timing
sure.
played on the movie. So that direct drive having a good high torque and a high speed I could see that it could instantly respond, like the moment you let go, it's right where you want it to be playing in that moment.
Right, exactly. And with an old belt motor, there's no way that you could, like, I've tried to do it, but it's just near impossible to try to beat match with a especially a not very good, but maybe with a high quality belt drive you can do it, and you can. I've done it, but like with a cheap belt, forget about it. There's too much wobble and weave, and it's not running at an even speed anyway, especially when you start pulling on the records. The rubber will get hot and stretch, and it's like, forget about it. It's a constantly changing speed, whereas this, you get that torque, so that you can really get used to the amount of adjustment you're going to need to gain that speed variation. That's what's so good about these techniques.
And hence the back to the long play record, it gives you more scope of a span to like hit that, because you can hit a second in a greater distance. Like if it's going faster, you're going to have a greater distance in that second. So that gives you it must be easier to catch the spot you want to, because it hasn't made its full cycle in that second. Like,
Yeah.
meaning to return it, you have a broader degree of range that you can drop it in and have a higher likelihood of hitting that second, right? Am I catching this?
Yep, for sure. So Capital Currency here says that he started with belt drives, and that it's not easy, and I agree. Indeed, it's not. That's a hard thing to learn on, if that's what you what you started on, for sure. And then up here he says that he has 4 techniques and that they're the best, and indeed I agree. This brings me up to 5. So I have 5 techniques now. That's what I was getting another one, because I'm exchanging my. So I have one of the first 2 decks I got were these 3Ds, and he said that he has the 3D model as well. So yeah, I think that they are a pretty good model. Mine have never broke; they're still going strong. But I took this one's brother and put it in my traveling case, and that's what I'm going to be using at this symposium. So, but now I'll just leave the old turntables, and I have a 5 in another case, so I'm going to use those, and eventually I'll probably retire this 3 M3 as well, and maybe even get that really top end turntable. We'll see see how much silver goes up, I guess. But
So what's your supporting equipment for a turntable? So obviously you're going to pack the turntable, but you can't take just that. What are you going to need to connect to it? What's your following device?
Oh man, I got a whole bunch of stuff. In fact, I'm thinking about buying there's this new streaming suitcase kind of looking thing that you can use now, and it's kind of like I have switcher device up here, which really helps me with the spin bands and cutting cameras and doing a live. But now there's this new model that has like the monitor built in with the switcher, and it's in a suitcase, so you can kind of take it and go. And I'm really thinking about picking that up because that'll allow me to live stream and monitor my live stream, and then all I got to do is worry about my tables and mixer and setup, and we're good to go. So, but yeah, otherwise I gotta like take a monitor in itself, the switchboard in itself, cables in itself, and it's nice if all the cables and everything is in that suitcase, and you can just but it's kind of pricey, and so I don't know. We'll see if I get it or lug around this other stuff. I'm in the air about it at the moment.
Have you ever thought about building you like a little mobile station that you could just like unpack, unfold kind of thing?
Well, that's pretty much, that's kind of what I'm doing here by picking up this turntable. I'll be able to have my, because I have traveling equipment cases, which is also important, good hard Odyssey cases. And so I'm putting my tables in there, and then and I have a mixer that I take out too. So I can have all that stuff packed and ready. And then if I get that live streaming case, you only got like a few things to pack, and then you can focus on your vinyl.
Don't worry, OT, I got you. You have to wait till after the live, obviously, but dude, that's wild.
Yeah, Capital Currency says he hasn't had an issue in 15 years with them. Exactly. They just work, and I love that about them. So there's a bit more in these newer models with the newer motors. There's actually a bit more power to them, and the adjustments are a bit tighter than the threes, but not so much. It's not a hard learning curve at all. Definitely not like going from belts to direct drive or nothing. But
so what's the next step up? Like really, like something turntables haven't really gotten to that maybe everybody's screaming for? Is there something to be added to the turntables now that's really missing?
Just good vinyl.
I don't know. You said something about maybe trying to hack out some osmium needles and
well, I would love that, just to say that I've done a set with Osmium. See, and I'm going to get some of those. They have, you can go online right now and buy the old phonograph records, the mechanical phonograph records that had no power going to the box. It was just spring loaded, and the vibration, literally the vibration of the needle was put into a like a trumpet horn, and so that it made it louder. But I mean, it's all mechanical, and it's amazing that you got the sound out of those that you did. But those had osmium tips, and I want to get me one just to show it and say it. And then if I could get the institute to like contact Ortofon and have them make me, instead of making a diamond, because they make diamond Q needles. It's like I just ordered new needles too, and it's like the next model up are diamonds, but I didn't want to get them because they're harsher on your records, and I get good enough sound with everything else that I have that I don't need that. So
yeah, I was gonna kind of ask that as a follow-up. Like, is that a consideration that people regularly make in their needle choice? Like, are they considering like how much? Because I mean, obviously these things are going to scratch through eventually, right? So is that taken into consideration?
Well, yeah.
Softer needle?
Yes, like if I was going to play at some top end club or something, I would get some needles for that occasion, and you would get them that are not elliptical. They're more of a kind of a diamond shape, and they fit further down into the groove, and they hug the edges a little bit tighter, and so you're going to get all the noise out of that record that you can, but you're also kind of tearing the record up as you're doing it. And now it's not like it just goes from like 100 uses to 50, or it's not like you can play it once and then not play it again. It's not that bad, but as much as like DJs are playing records, like I'm always playing records, so I don't use those harsh needles, because I like to, and if you're gonna backspin, or if you're queuing up, that is a little bit harder on your records. So but yeah, if you're gonna play at some top end club, you can get a little bit better needle with a a deeper groove wear and pull out more high end stuff. But it's you have to have a really good system to be able to tell those differences. So only in a nice club would I consider doing that. What needles do I use? I use the Ortofon, the cheap ones, like I was just talking about. Their MK2s or something, I think. I can go check what they're, but they're the blue Ortofon.
So when does your devices have the ability for you to just like let the record like record once? Can you like literally record it as you're playing it, or like kind of tone down some usage on these, or
Oh yeah, you could, but like
buying a
you
ton of
can
them?
play with the needles I use, and even with other needles, you can get thousands of plays before they start. If you have like, and I'm going to show you how to set, or how I set up this table. And if you get it set up like you're supposed to, and all the adjustments set right, and then you have a good new needle and it's elliptical like I have, you can play your record almost nonstop without it wearing out or scratching or you hearing problems. Especially if you keep your vinyl very clean. If you keep your vinyl clean and your needles clean, you're good to go, basically. And so that's why I use these needles that I use. And so yeah, you really don't, if you have everything set up right, you've got good needles, and you got your weight adjustment right and everything, for spinning. And I have my table set up for beat matching. So I don't do a lot of scratching, or so, because you might you'd get a scratching needle and you have it set heavier down on the record so it can handle more, force. So there's different ways of doing it, but I do it for beat matching and for music and for the artfulness of that. And so I just set everything up so it's all smooth and use those needles. And you can literally, if you keep your vinyl clean, you don't have to worry about overplaying your record, really. So
Awesome.
but that's kind of the thing, is you need a good record player, good needles, and then to have it all set up just top notch, and you'll be good.
um, what do you got going on over there?
Oh, just getting the power cords ready and unboxed. RCAs.
Sweet.
So yeah, I think Platinum's going to be another good one, and it's starting to move a little bit. So I don't know when it's going to make its big move, but I think Platinum's going to be another good play.
Well, I'll tell you that for my big reset, I'm aiming at silver, platinum, and of course, I'm going to keep moving on to osmium. I'm not giving up on that.
Oh, for
but
sure.
It's time for me to rebuild my silver base, but you got to have like a good premium alternative. So I'm going to move with the platinum for the next while, and I'm just going to buy it when I can. And I'm not, yeah, sure, I'll try to find some good deals or whatever. But like I saw Swordfish the other day. I was like, you're kidding me, bro. Like I had that. I was like, I could have had that. But anyways, so I'm just going to get it. I'm not going to question the premiums. I never really have. Try to get a good deal. But outside of that, just buy it.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
the time wasted shopping, delay a day and you could miss your chance.
Yep.
So I'm going to go with the old fashioned, just cost average, just get it where I can. And while everybody's busy with gold, man, I'm going to take advantage of platinum because, I've heard it said by a bunch, platinum was always supposed to be the economic leader, the one you trade your gold in for, and when you look at natural ratios and you look at like use case and you look at every measure of a precious metal, the only thing gold's got platinum beat on is abundance. Gold is abundant compared to platinum. And so I'm like, well, there's going to be a natural correction here come someday. I'm not going to miss it, and this is a great time because now I'm not vested in gold. I'm not worried about the gold. I'm not worried about it, like, yeah, I'll use it to think about, talk about. Yeah, it's still a measure, but dude, platinum, platinum group metals, and silver, like a bajillion uses, and they're just great metals. I'm not even really too worried about gold. I'm going to get in on like micro fractionals if I get in on gold. I'm going to start eating up some of these like Euro notes and, get ready for the day that gold is so freaking expensive. I'm going to love having a $50 option sitting around,
Yep.
Drop a gold note down and it's, hey, there's $50 right there. Yeah, I'll look forward to that day. And I got all the time in the world to take my best pick and timing, And meanwhile, I'm just going to stack platinum like it's all the same price every day. And same with the silver. And dude, I think I'll be pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. But I will say I do have more conviction on, like, I know more about the silver than I do platinum. I do think platinum will be good, but I have more conviction on silver.
Somewhere in the back of my mind always lives our trade ratios. Your 100 ounces of silver to your ounce of gold, right? Well, somewhere in my mind always lives that. And so whenever I'm stacking and I see one metal getting ahead of another, it doesn't hurt to take a look at those trade ratios and say, man, maybe it's time to beef up this other one, or maybe it's just plain time to make a quick trade.
Yep.
You see? And so, but I think for me, I think I'll haggle my trade ratios between my silver and my platinum, and I'll be pretty comfortable with that because it'll be a tighter spread for me right now. It'll be easier to get in and out of. I'm not worried about the platinum's quote unquote thin market. You just got to make 2 more calls, whoop-de-doo, and I'm going to be holding it for a while anyway, so I'm not too worried. This is going to be a good season, man. A whole bunch of metals that are primed to go, Golds are a big warning flag, guys. That's my opinion. Gold's your warning flag.
Yeah, it's literally the thermometer or the dipstick. It's what you watch, it's the canary in the coal mine. It's the measure of which you use.
And look at what happens with gold. Like, let's step back from economic and trade and financial ratios for a second. Let's just like talk natural occurrence and your ability to process it. Platinum is an ultra low occurrence even to gold. So when people start fiending for the gold and going in there like a bunch of raging zombies, look what they're willing to pay for that, and look how quickly that price fluctuates because it's a rare commodity. Rare commodities swing very powerfully. Any rare commodity will. A little bit of motion, and that's all it takes before large percentages of the market are being ripped out. You know, that's a real life practical occurrence of a natural occurrence. And so when you look at that, platinum, which is probably 3 or 4 to 1 of gold, or, you know, maybe more, let's just say 3 to be safe. You know, if platinum to gold is 1 to 3, then I mean, that's imagine what platinum's going to correct like. And silver, although it's enormously more abundant, it's also used, industrially speaking, you know, volumetrically, worlds more. It is silver is used for everything. You know, it's one of those that's just used everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. And because of our consumer dependence, like, it can't be helped. It literally can't be helped. Like, we need it to get through our lives, right?
Yep.
And so as populations grow, as kids are leaving the house every day, as people are building businesses, you know, and the world's scrapping for a thinning resource, which it is. All these resources in the crust are thinning, all of them. Like, there's still more to be had, sure, but right now, huge portions of these are just projects in mind. Like, these guys haven't even started to really turn the dirt. They haven't even made parking lots for the equipment yet. They've gone in there and done a bunch of drilling and said, well, there's some way down there, you know,
Yeah.
and that's where we're at. Meanwhile, Mexico, oh, thanks, Luke. Meanwhile, Mexico is, it's like, I've seen some figures that say Mexico with is like at like 37,000 tons in their reserve, and projected end of mining for their major mines is like 2034. That's right around the window. Like, that's just right around the corner, excuse me. You know, 2034, and that's like the late end. That's like, there's a lot of them coming in like 27. One of them's, I forget which mine it is projected end is this year. You know, it's wild. You know, these that's just Mexico. You know,
Yeah.
think about everywhere else in the world that they don't have big delays in their market right now. Like,
Yeah.
Mexico. Go ahead.
And just think about too, like how much all the countries are looking at trade right now, just because of what Trump did and said about trade, just making everyone look at all their commodities and be like, oh, are we say, and they're starting to think about them all on a whole new level, right? Like, so it's gonna be reality is gonna start to come back into play here, I think. So
It has to, doesn't it?
yeah.
You know. Well, again, like the platinum thing, you know, because, like, let's go back to platinum. I like platinum. All right, that's why I reference it. Is it wouldn't take much to absolutely, like, rip every last piece of platinum off the shelf. All it would take is 1 or 2 stimuli into a few industries, like petroleum. You know, these guys gotta run catalysts. You know that. Excuse me. Petroleum refining requires catalytic metals, platinum group metals, and that includes emissions. You know, the equipment running these in these high temperature, highly corrosive environments is platinum and platinum group metals. The the medical industry, platinum and platinum group metals. The dental industry, platinum and platinum group metals. You know what? You see where this is going?
Yeah.
Like, aerospace, naval. You know, I, If we had a big push in the Navy, platinum's off the shelf. If we have a big push in our Air Force, platinum's off the shelf. If we have a big satellite project, platinum's off the shelf. If we have like a huge, let's say we want to revamp our hospitals and we want new equipment in those, platinum's off the shelf. This goes on and on and on. And all we're waiting for is somebody to just do it. You know, and you get couple countries work together all at once. Well, all of a sudden, your platinum's going to be on back order, bud. You know, you're going to be buying platinum in futures, and you're going to be wanting to sink your teeth into miners all of a sudden. You know, because quite frankly, the tangible is going to be just difficult to get a hold of.
Yep.
And that's for your platinum group metals, all of them. And that's silver. You know, silver could do it too. Different, you know, industries would do it, but different causes, war causes could do it. You know, electronics could do it. Satellite industries could do it. Any water efforts could do it. Holy moly, there are so many things that could swamp. I mean, dude, a huge portion of our private market in America could do it. Like, there's some guys out there, if they ever sink their teeth in the silver market, they put a real hurt on us. Like, could you imagine if Elon Musk stepped in right now, just like, you know, he's like, yeah, I want to play with silver now. You know, we'd be like, shit. I don't know. Can I get some feedback on that one? Am I too far off?
Yep. I'm just leveling up the back of my table here, so I'm a little distracted. But yeah, no, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, I hear he's not very happy with what happened with the EV and the big new bill, the BBB.
You know, I'd love to like clap for the guy at the moment and be like, well, at least you're showing like some kind of a mark of integrity. But at the same time, I'm like, the whole dang thing feels like a show. Anyways.
It is. For me anyway.
Yeah, and so it's like, really, it's like, well, what are they doing here? You know, are they just, you know, they separated the sheep and the goats, and now they want to separate the goats from the goats. You know, the sheep from the sheep. You know, it's, I don't know. I'd love to think. I'm a pretty skeptical guy, and so although I love to see the best in people, and I really do where I can, anywhere I can see the best in somebody, I try my heart out to. But then there's just players that hit the scene. And it's like, man, I'm not allowed to trust you. Even if I wanted to, I'm not allowed to. You know, like there's no way I could. You know, you're not supposed to. The more power somebody accumulates, the less you're supposed to trust them. You know, and it's a natural check and balance. It's a natural safeguard. You know, and although, you know, a feller can warm your heart, you know, it's like, you know, you got a lot of power and you got a lot of swing. Anybody with that much power and swing can change the way I live my life every day. You know, I need to be guarded in how far your influence can affect my life. And if you have the ability to make major influences into my social structure, then that means I need to now isolate and insulate myself from this. you see.
Mm-hmm.
And here I am stacking metals, you know.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mike, did I get my foot stuck in the rabbit hole?
No, it's all good. Yeah, I'm listening. I'm distracted by my level.
You shall not have two. Oh my good dude, your chat is lit tonight.
Let me come see what's going on over here. What's going on, OTG, Capital Currency? Joseph Lopez, good to see you. JT Coin Rings.
Oh, did JT and Joseph hop in? I missed that.
Yeah, if JT's still in here, JT, I got something I need to send your way. Let's see. Oh yeah, he's in here. Yeah, JT, I got something I'm gonna be sending to you. See what you can get done with it. Oh. And then I need your daughter to make me a shirt. We got to work that out too still. I think his daughter is starting up a shirt company or business or something.
Cool. Oh, we got Gerald pop in. Wall crawling.
All right. Well, it is starting to look pretty good here on the level.
Very nice. So how far am I allowed to go down the rabbit hole tonight, man?
Until I stay that's deep enough.
So I live in northern New Mexico, and I see a lot of air traffic at night. And I've gotten pretty good at distinguishing, well, hey, you know, that's about a 737 or 747 out there. And yeah, you know, that looks like a little Cessna, and that's probably a helicopter. And what in the hell is that? You know,
Yeah.
I've been getting a lot of what in that lately, just for the record.
Yeah.
The wife and I watch it regularly, and I'm not like, dude, I recognize satellites when they go by, okay? I know when it's Starlink floating by. You know, I can tell. Dude, not too long ago, the other night, we had a crazy one come by. Like it kind of put a little bit of like fear into my heart, thinking what this could possibly be. It literally, oh man, how do I describe this? It was like a bright orb of light, but in the way that you would that like a jet engine becomes a bright orb of light, right? And that plasma light, but it was like whitish, and it looked like the whole thing was just like a giant plasma ball of like jet thrust, because it literally looked like almost like it was like literally fire for a second. You know, it was plasma. You know, like was the best way I can describe it. And but it was dead quiet, and it was low altitude. And my mind, my skeptical, you know, tinfoil mind went to work, and I went, that could only be a couple of things. Like, hey, this is somebody's private little like garage creation, and that's badass, but that's way too fast. And like, unlike technologies that I'm used to. And then so I'm like, oh my goodness, could this be like one of them, you know, tactical nukes or something? Like, where's it going? And I started like where this thing could be delivering to, you know? And I was like, oh my word, and thinking like, which stations do I need to tune into? And then like it zipped out, and like I'm telling you, this thing flies at probably 15. It was flying probably 1,500 feet. You know, I recognize the altitude stone where the sheriffs normally fly, and man, and it was cooking, and it was no sound, just nothing, and that's what really threw me off. And nothing ever happened from it, you know. But dude, we've been seeing a lot of activity lately, like a lot, and it's kind of like they're gearing up for something. And it's just been on my mind a lot recently. Like, man, we see things like, I don't know, 5 to 7 a week at least, and this is just when we're outside looking at the stars, smoking a cigarette, and then we go back to our life. It's wild, whatever, and it just makes me think, man, whatever's coming, they've got to be like preparing us for much more. Like the time to like isolate and insulate is like now. They're moving so many dang pieces out there, and there's so many disclosures coming out every day. Just the lies are unfolding, and more lies, and the gaslight is dimming, and
yeah,
they are, man. Like you said, it's all coming to a boil, and it's like, how could it not? There's nowhere you could, like, big events could hide from anymore. There's not like a bunch of extremely isolated places anymore. Like, everybody's got their eyes on the sky somewhere.
yep.
Almost everybody's got their zeros and ones in that bank and is watching it like a hawk.
Yeah.
You can't hide anything anymore in today's world.
Not nearly as easy as you used to could, that's for sure. That's what you watch the cops now, they got eyes in the sky, and there's always a camera somewhere in there.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Luckily, I got nothing to worry about, so why would I care?
Fuck me. Stewart saw a shooting star 13 and a half minutes ago, so probably 14 minutes ago now. Awesome. Yeah, dude, I've been seeing a lot of those. I've been thinking about hunting them. They say New Mexico's one of the biggest producers in the world of meteorite. Now, what a meteorite is up for another debate. Let's see. Look up face peelers. The rabbit hole is deep. Oh, my word. Yox, welcome in.
Look up what? What did you say?
Look up face peelers. The rabbit hole is deep, he says.
Okay.
Stuart must be mourning already. Oh, my word. So what do you guys think? All right. So I don't think these UFOs and stuff, I don't think they are extraterrestrial. If anything, I would say intraterrestrial. Now, whether they are dimensional or not is going to, I'd start arguing your use of the word dimensionality, but like, I'm suspect that they are intraterrestrial. I believe they're, whatever we're seeing started here and is going to end here. So that's my bet. What do y'all think?
Do not know.
Yeah.
No, there's a lot of stuff up there that I don't know what it is, but that doesn't mean much.
So, people here, let me segue back to silver here in a minute. I will. There's a lot of us in here right now, I guarantee it. Lisa, welcome in. There's a lot of us in here right now, and I can almost guarantee it, that we're of the crowd that said, yeah, I believe UFOs were real. I believe I actually saw them.
Lisa Anderson. Good to see you, Lisa. Sorry, keep going, Spaceman.
And I guarantee you there's somebody in here that questions the moon landing. I question the moon landing.
Oh, dang,
That's
I do more than question it.
And but here, over the years, all these disclosures have started to come out recently. In case y'all didn't know, our government saw fit to recently disclose all these secret and top secret, except for like the most of the most. They've released pretty much everything, and I think that was actually kind of a smart tactic because it kind of did two things at once. A, it shut down everybody that said, oh, you're just hiding a bunch of stuff, right? Like it pull those people up because they're like, here, you want files? Here's all the files. But B, because there's so many files being disclosed, it's left guys spending years sorting through this information, trying to find it. By the time they find something and show it online, it's easy enough for some guy on YouTube to come out there, put a CGI tinfoil hat on his, talk a little bit of crap, and nobody believes him. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. But disclosure is real, and we're seeing it every day. Like the JFK thing that's been released. Everybody knew it all along, but if you didn't go along with the narrative, you're a troublemaker. Yeah. See what I'm saying? And what do you think they're doing to us now? Look, we were right then. We knew it, and we knew it. They hounded us, but we were right. And now we're seeing it once again and again and again. And we've been right about our precious metals this whole time. All of us in here have. Yeah. We've told our friends and family this day is coming, and yet here oh no, gold would. I remember somebody telling me 2 years ago. I said, "Oh, just wait. I said 2,500 is just right around the corner. You really think it would go that high? No way. Markets would crash. And this country would have to be in the next Great Depression." And here we are 2 years later, man. And gold's at 3,300, depending. Wait, what was it? 3,300 high or something?
Yeah, it's 33 over 33 now, I think. Yeah,
that's wild. And dude, not only were we right, we were way more right than we even wanted to be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we're forecasting all to what us seems like common knowledge. This is like basic stacker protocol that you got to understand a couple things about the way the world works. But the more I talk with the public, the more I realize how ignorant we've all become, like society, how ignorant we've become to the way these things are actually operating. Like, this is the whole, like, people that think meat comes from the back of the store kind of people.
Where does it come from, Space Miner?
What's that?
So where does it come from, Space Miner?
From the back of the store. If you're asking beyond that, it's the truck, duh. And I don't think people realize how sensitive this nation really is. We were talking about it the other day, right? And that, or I was mentioning, if trucks stop rolling, like, think about it. All you need is one good, like, T-word scare. They're gonna I don't even want to say the word, but the T-word people,
Yeah.
All you need is a good scare, and trucks could shut down. If they shut down for a day, we're hurting. 2 days, you better start figuring out where your family needs to be. Day 3, dude, you better have your guns on you when you're leaving, and because 3 days, your shelves are empty. You see?
Yeah.
And that's real life. That's your gas. That's your bottled water that everybody's like, oh, water shut down. Let's go grab some bottled water. Like, dude, that's always the first one to go in a crisis. Your emergency resources are going to clear that bottled water before you ever get a chance. Just for the record.
Yeah.
They're priority. Don't you know? And and so, like, and I'm not here trying to put the fear into everybody. It's not something we really should be too fearful about. If we're living the way we should be living.
Yeah, no, just get yourself some, take care of the problem firstly. Get yourself, some backup actual storage water. Get yourself some filters that can filter the water. Gravity fed filters, right? You can get some nice gravity fed filters and then and then get yourself some canned food, and then you get yourself some silver and gold, and then you don't worry about it.
Yeah, and it gives you, what it does is it gives you time to figure out these problems. That, and it gives you time to wait for the meat to pop up on the shelf. Then you run and get it. Then you run and get it. And you're not, and your resources aren't being sucked up in the frenzy. Like, I will never forget the toilet paper shortage of, what was it, 2020? The great toilet shortage. Like, what a joke they played on us. Like, it is so demeaning what they put us through. Our toilet paper, man. Like, a toilet paper shortage is what came out of that. Like, I was so insulted. Like, toilet paper, you went right for our asses, didn't you? Excuse my language. But
okay, so hold on, I'm gonna go over what I'm doing here. I think you can kind of see it through that one camera. Let me make that big, and then I'll
get back to your turntables, man.
Tell you. Actually, I'm gonna leave it as is. So
this around.
I got the turntable leveled out on all four. You put your level on each side to get it leveled. Now I'm gonna put the needle on the arm and adjust the weight in the back. So what you do, you unhook it, obviously, and then what we're looking to do is to balance this out. So I unscrew this counterbalance weight back here until you see it now. Now that weight is pulling the arm up. And so you don't want it to be pulling it up, and you don't want it to be pushing down. You want it right kind of in the middle. So we're looking to balance it out. And to do this, I'm also going to get what we're going to use here in a minute is a record. Trying to see where I'm at here. And this particular record has no grooves on one side. So one side is just smooth. So we're going to take that smooth side and we're going to face it up. And then that way, if the needle hits it, it doesn't do anything. And we're just trying to find that. Actually, right there, I think is about right. You want it to be level and floating. So you're looking to make that float dead even. Yeah, that looks good to me. So now that we got that set up, it's balanced out. You hold on to the, I'm going to go ahead and put it in and lock it down. But I'm going to hold on to the counterbalance, and I'm going to set that front dial to 0. And then now that it's balanced out at 0, you can go find the weight adjustment for the amount of weight you want on that needle. And you can turn, if it says 2 grams, then you turn it from 0 to 2. And that should be about the right amount of weight. I also have a scale that I'm going to check as well. But that's kind of the next step that I just took care of there. So Okay, go ahead, Space Miner. Just wanted to explain that.
No, man, you're good. I was fascinated. I'm real big into like instrumentation and controls.
I find it kind of cool to set these up. So yeah. So right here on the needle, it says. See if I can. Oh, come on. Right there, 4-gram tracking force. So now I can just come over here and what's this one? And turn the whole counterbalance from 0.5 to 1, 2, 3, 4, which is 0 in this case. And then that should be set at the right amount of pressure, but I also have a scale that I'm going to put it on to make sure. But carry on while I find my scale, Space Miner.
Dude, I'm just laughing at the chat, man. I've been holding it in. This, I love your chat, bro, man. These guys are great. This is our community. I love it. I can't help it. I've been holding it, man. Whew. All right, I don't know where to go. I was off in freaking rabbit hole land. Yeah, so here's another thing. While I work on silver and platinum and continue on with the crystal osmium, right? I am definitely this year moving on some alternative investment metals. And what do I mean by that? I mean I'm after rhenium, which Ian's got some of. I'm after crystal hafnium. Ian's also got some of that. So I'm like, booyah, there's 2 out of the way, right? I'm after indium and lanthanum. And those ones, like, for sure I'm after. Germanium is another one I'm after. Niobium is another one I'm after. And I'm coming at this from this nearly the same perspective like most of your copper and nickel guys are, you know. This is for me, it's a speculative investment. I speculate that that we're going to be cut off from a whole bunch of these metals, and oh wait, never mind, that already happened. So here's the deal with these metals, like indium. $1,000 of indium is going to get you a lot of indium. You'll probably get kilo or more pretty easily. With $1,000, But the point is a kilo of indium is a lot of indium. And think about if you had a kilo of gold right now, right? Like, indium is, by the ounce, it's more expensive than silver, but what it's about to do is become extremely thin of a market, because indium's mined, just like all your platinum group metals. Indium is another one of those metals that are like mined out of other metals. Like, they don't aim for indium necessarily. Usually indium's it's part of the refining process. It's byproduct from the refining, just like platinum group metals are.
Yeah.
And so, all these that were on my list are all rare metals. Like, the same rarities as precious as all of our precious metals. They're just as valuable industrially speaking, if not more, like indium. Like, literally all of technology that we live with today, like almost all of it, uses indium. Like our screens are probably using indium right now, you know, and and indium's not going away at all. And in fact, there's a lot of stuff going, a lot of research going into indium, and they're going to start using a lot more indium, probably pretty soon. Well, indium is also getting increasingly difficult to get a hold of, along with a lot of your other metals that we're being straight cut off from right now. I have a buddy that got a note back just the other day saying, hey, we can't sell you this metal anymore. It's we can put credit to your account for later. You can switch it out for maybe this metal, but we can't give you that metal that we know you already paid for. You see, and that's about to start happening with a lot of our metals. And so what I'm saying here is there's a lot of metals you can get in on right now that are really cheap, especially compared to like gold and silver, and platinum and stuff, but they're not going to stay that way forever. Like you picked one up the other day, B, you picked up gallium. Dude, gallium's about to get difficult to get a hold of. It's about to be. And gallium is used all over the place too. And again, more technology coming forward with gallium, and it's just a metal people don't think about. But these metals don't stop moving in the background just because we're not paying attention to them, because they're not scrolling across our screen on Fox News. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where these metals still have a huge life out there. There's a whole world based on these individual metals still moving on. Life's still trucking on. And these metals are getting more expensive every day. They're getting rarer every day. And a lot of these we're getting straight cut out of.
Welcome in, Silver Boy Blues. Sorry.
Hey, what up? No, that's cool. I was chatting. I was in space mode. And anyways, my point is that, like, if there was ever a time for speculative investment, like this is like America's got such a natural blessing on our hands, like that we can take advantage of right now. Like even amidst all this crisis, guys, there is financial freedom in front of us if we reach out and take it. But it's going to take leaps and bounds in faith, because most of these markets that you're going to be entering, you're going to know little to nothing of. You see, it's not going to be this ultra liquid material. You're going to have to probably make a couple calls to sell it, but it's not going to matter when it does. A buddy of mine bought his house some years back with rhodium, with a rhodium investment. He saw rhodium was real. He bought it back in the day, bought it cheap, didn't think nothing about it. It was just a cheap platinum group metal that nobody knew what to do with, rhodium, and he bought it, speculative, threw it in his collection, walked on from life. Comes back one.
Hold on 1 second here, bud. So I wanted to mention a couple more things. I've got most everything lined out here. The weight was appropriately right on at 4 grams. So one thing that's different about this turntable from the 3D that I forgot to mention is the 3D has from 0 to -8 or +8. And with these newer models, you can hit 2x, and now you go to 16 negative and 16 positive. So you're getting double your speed out of it as well if need be. And right now I'm gonna set for. So I got everything set, but there's this anti-skating, which if you put a record on and it has no grooves, out here where there would normally be grooves. It's just smooth. And this is how you set up your anti-skating. You turn it on probably to 45 so the turntable's really spinning. And then you set your needle down on the record, and you want to set your anti-skating so that it kind of stays in the middle or doesn't really drag to the inside or pull to the outside. And that way you're going to be centered torque wise, and that helps you for like if you're back spinning or something, that keeps it within the grooves instead of wanting to pull out. So that's what I'm going to do right now. And I did power it on. Everything looks good. So
B, can you make us big screen? See what's going on?
okay, yeah, let me zoom. Or yeah, let's see. Actually, I think it's probably good right where it's at. I'll pull myself up.
Yeah, there we go, like that.
Okay, and then yeah, so we're hoping that we're gonna try to get this needle to ride somewhat in the middle here. So see how it's pulling in right now, heavy with the turn of the record. So it's really pulling in, and you don't want that. So we're gonna adjust the anti-skating. See, it's getting better. I only went about 1.5, and it's already quite a bit better. See now how it's not pulling in as hard? And so when I adjust the skating, now it's going to pull back towards me the other way. See that? And you want to set it just kind of so that where you set it down, it's gonna stay, and it's not really pulling all the way to one side or the other. So there you go. There's your anti-skating. All right, cool. So that is your appropriately set up turntable. You got your weights right, your adjustments right, your levels right. So yeah, we're ready to play now. So that wraps that up. Let's go ahead and hear the end of your story. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I wanted to show that particular part of it. So
Oh, let's see. What was it? He was buying a house. Yeah. I'll just sum it up. Point was is he bought in that rhodium when nobody liked it, nobody gave a crap about it. He threw it in his collection and moved on with his life. He came back years later, heard rhodium was pumping. He hadn't thought about it in years. Went to check on the price of rhodium. Hurried up and made some calls. Sold his rhodium and bought a house. And it's the same house. He bought the house for like 120, and that same house now is turned into 350 out there in California.
yeah,
and but the point is that he did that with a metal that he knew that there was a future in. He didn't give a crap what anybody had to say, because I'm telling you what, the further you get from gold and silver, I mean, let's just look at the gold guys. I mean, the hardcore gold guys. You know those guys. Like, they don't give a crap about silver, right? The further you get from gold, like the more suspicious they become of not just the metal, but you. You know?
yeah.
And but this attitude, that same attitude is prevalent among us. You know, that when we start talking about some of these, when we hear about a guy that's been stacking copper and nickel garage, and he's got pallets full of copper and nickel, and we think, oh, price density and whatnot. Well, this guy might be looking to the future. You see, and when it does, he's going to have mass multiplier. He's going to have a mass multiplier because he's going to have so dang much of it. Now, I'm not that guy. I'm going to aim at something a little closer to home. my precious metals. So like, that's what I'm saying. There are a lot of other metals that are more rare than gold.
Yeah.
More
So Yoxnav asks, where do you sell these rare metals?
You know, a lot of the refineries themselves will buy it back. That's a good start. And it's really going to depend on the metal that you're releasing these to. So, for example, like your platinum group metals, a lot of your refineries will just straight buy them back. A lot of your bullions will accept them. You know, like Hero Bullion, you know, who hardly ever puts any effort into like rhodium stocking, right? They'll buy your rhodium. It might not be the price you thought or you wanted, but they'll buy it. Now you start getting closer to like the refineries, these guys will buy it back too, and you'll probably get a little bit better of a price. Now you start, there's also like element collectors, like a lot of these element sites will be happy to buy them because a lot of them are playing speculative investment anyways, you know, with their collections. You know, it's like it's a good way to double on your hobby. And so like a lot of jewelers will take platinum, you know, platinum and platinum group metals. Some dental places will actually take it.
Yeah, well, so and for all seriousness, Yoxnav, we're looking at getting a lot of these different metals. I'm kind of moving into a pure metals movement where, and I
Yep.
think Ian has now, he's got some good connections on 4-9s copper and also on 3-9s nickel. So those are going to be along with your iridium and your rhenium, which you already has. So we're working on getting those, and Ian's working on getting some. So yeah, stay tuned if you're serious about it. And yeah, capital currency, yeah, that's the thing. You're going to have to come down and or come over. We'll have to hook up and and do some mixing together. I'm thinking about getting a little. So I'm again, I got this for my home setup, so I don't have to break this down. But which is giving me the ability to have a traveling set, and so I can, you know, we can go and we can set up somewhere. And I'm also looking at getting a kind of a carrying case that allows you to have a switchboard and live stream and several cameras. And if I can get all that kind of easy and set up and move around, we could go do a set somewhere pretty cool. So yeah, let me know. That'd be fun. And what else? Let's see here. And OTG tells Space Miner sells them at the same place he gets them, the used car lot.
That's funny. Yeah, man. And that's what I meant, you know, earlier. It's a different type of investment. You know, if you buy a car as a form of investment, you're obviously not going to go to Walmart to try to sell it. You know, there's that depending on the metal you get depends on the place you're going to sell it to. But the point is that it's a low stress for me. This is me, okay? For me, they're low stress investments because they're cheap to get into. A little bit of money gets me a lot of bit of metal, okay? And then I have all the time to walk away and forget about it. And I have time to do the research. I have time to make the calls. I have time to establish the connections. And when the day comes, then I'm ready to sell it. I just get in my phone and look up those few connections that I made and say, hey, who's in the market? You know?
Yeah.
And because I'm going to be sitting on these, chances are much longer than a gold or a silver or a platinum. And that's another reason that you'll hear LLC and I both say to anybody, dude, get your precious metal stack down. You know, get your food, Get your water, get your land, get your home, get your precious metals stacked down, get your brass and your lead. You know, when you have these things, now it's time for speculative investment. You know, and because they are not as liquid. Well, now indium, on the other hand, I mean, you could call a couple. You could just type in the words indium America, find the few places selling it, and they will buy your indium. Like, there's a lot of manufacturing places that do, like, you know, Galveston mixers, Galveston alloys and stuff that will, like, you call them up, like pretty much anybody that works with indium, you call them up, say, hey, I got some indium I need to let go of. You want to buy it? They'll say, yep. They don't give a shit. You know, it's great in a way, but it does take a little bit of work in tracking these people down. But once you find them, I mean, that's it. These guys are easy. And then you hold your metal till you got the profit range you want. You know, a lot of these, you're going to be sitting a while. Like, there's a lot of people right now extremely disappointed in indium. They thought it was going to be their get rich quick. And, you know, they tried to play it like silver. And it's just not silver.
Yeah.
But being said, it's worth it. It's worth it because when these metals swing like Ian with his rhenium right now, like 30 between 30 and 35 tons a year is produced, and almost any chunk of rhenium you get your hands on is going to be recycled rhenium because of how difficult it is to find it, extract it, purify it, and then handle it, meaning form it into something. Like, he's got the sinter. Dude, sintering technology, sintering alone, you know, is a rhenium sintering operation is a huge operation. There's only going to be a couple guys in the world doing that.
Cool. Like, hey, hold on one second there. So yeah, Capital Currency, practice up, and if you want to do drum and bass, I don't know. I don't do drum and bass. I've got like probably 10 records out of like 2 rooms worth of records, so I have very little bit of drum and bass. But you're welcome to do drum and bass if you would like, and you know, you can throw down a set, and then I can go on or whatever, however we want to do it. But yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, go ahead, Space Miner, and finish up. I think we'll probably wrap it up here shortly because I got to get up early in the morning. But well, yeah, first, thanks everybody for hanging out and checking that out and listening to us ramble on while I got that done. And hopefully this will bring many more nights of good times. So appreciate that. But yeah, sorry to cut you off.
Appreciate you walking us through that, and for those of us that know.
Yeah, cool. Did you learn something? Did you know that there was that much into it that you could actually set them up instead of just plugging and playing?
I didn't have a clue there was that much set up.
Yeah. Yeah, well, these new techniques, man, you get them set up nice, like Capital Currency was saying. He ran his for 15 years. I'm the same, in the same boat, if not longer, and yeah, they just work and they don't break, and you get them set up well and they work well. So
do you know what you want to play on it first? What you're going to christen it with?
I don't know. Actually, I do. I kind of, I might do that. I might christen it on this coming Saturday because I have an idea. Depending if silver rises a bit more, I might have to. I've been waiting to open with a song, so maybe I'll
save a song for that.
Yeah,
that's sure. Awesome.
Whole set for it, man. It'll be fun. All right, guys. Well, yeah, you wanna I didn't mean to cut you off. Were you done with your story, or did you have something else to say there.
You know, man, I'd go all night if you let me.
Say that again.
I said I'd go all night if you let me, man. I'm just like blah 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 blah. You know?
Yeah,
I'm just happy to hang out with everybody, really.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I want to, it's nice that your mind is really set on or understanding metals. And I was talking to him not long ago, and I want to come on and do a live with you where we get into kind of metallurgy itself, because just talking with you and understanding metallurgy and the terminology that's used in metallurgy is kind of only used with metallurgy because it's describing certain things about the process of messing with metals. And we're always talking about osmium and the characteristics of it, and I when I was trying to press into that, and you got talking about the different things about metals, I think that would be really interesting for the whole community to hear, because it explains a lot, because it's like, well, what does hardness really mean, and shear pressure and torque and like all these different things, and it helps you, I think, to understand metals a little bit when you wrap your head around that stuff. So
yeah, and I think it would help everybody understand a little bit more about what these purities really mean. Somebody, I won't say who, made a comment in the video the other night about there not being, not much of a difference between 3 nines and 4 nines. And I went, what? You know what I mean? Like, that's a huge difference. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. And the 5 nines, right? That is like, wow, right? So it's a whole
5 is medically, scientifically pure, and we are talking about millions of, to the millions. And the point is that it's just there's such, just like, here, let me say this real quick, just to preview how big of a deal this is. To go from, it's just like earthquakes. A Richter 2 is going to be 10 times as powerful as a Richter 1, right? Well, a Richter 3 is going to be 10 times more powerful than that Richter 2, and 4, 10 times as much as that 3, and these exponential effects, you're not talking about a little difference. There is a big difference between a 4 and a 5 earthquake. I mean, there is a big boy difference. It's 10 times as powerful. Well, that same effect is in our purity. So to strip it down to a 4 nines alone is really, like, most quality silver is going to be 4 nines, even if it's printed 3 nines. Most of it's actually going to be 4 nines, and that's really freaking impressive what they're putting that out on. But to say there's not a big difference between 3 nines and 4 nines, or 4 nines and 5 nines, like, it seems it's time we understand, like, the necessity and importance of purities too.
Yeah.
Like,
all right, cool. Well, yeah, let's do that. We'll come back on, and we'll get down into the nitty gritty of that stuff, and so yeah, we're gonna be kind of busy coming up these next week or so, because we got that Osmium Symposium. So stay tuned to that. I'm gonna be trying to go live from the symposium a few times, so hopefully we'll tune in a bit. I'm hoping to even live stream a DJ set and sell some osmium whilst at the symposium. So we'd love to see you there. And yeah, Capital Currency, we'll have to do a set sometime for sure. And everybody else out there, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight, and we will be back very soon with another one. So we will catch you all on the next one. Thanks, guys.
Later, y'all.